Welcome to the 6th episode of HangTime. In this episode, we will be discussing some NFL award candidates and the Super Bowl winner predictions. Alongside me, as always, are Mr. Werble and Mr. Potter. How you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Doing well.
In our first segment, we will be discussing some candidates for the NFL Honors Awards. These awards will be given out later tonight. Mr. Potter, who is your clear-cut winner for Defensive Player of the Year?
Okay, my Defensive Player of the Year, I hate to say it being a Browns fan, but I think it's TJ Watt. Now, I do think Cam Hayward deserves some credit for this award. I think that the way the Browns went with 2 edge rushers this year, I think that can be effective, but I think Cam Hayward is super underrated, pushing the pocket back, allowing TJ Watt to be able to get the edge, but he just makes so many plays, and I think that, I would love to say Myles Garrett, but I think TJ Watt's got it.
Mr. Werble?
I gotta agree. I mean, TJ Watt is just clearly the guy, right? If I'm gonna throw another name out there that wasn't said, Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And reason being is the amount of tackles, 84, and that ties Aaron Donald for the league lead. But the interesting part, 64 solo tackles from a rookie, but it's not what TJ Watt did.
Mr. Werble, who do you think deserves Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Offensive Rookie of the Year, yeah, that one I don't think that it will be too much of a debate either. No. Jamar Chase is going to win that. Was it over 1,400 yards as a rookie, 13 touchdowns, and his team's in the Super Bowl? Yeah.
Mr. Potter?
Yeah, I agree with that. That one to me is probably going to be unanimous. I just think from wide receiver standpoint, he has elevated the position in terms of value for a lot of organizations, where a lot of organizations feel like they can plug and play wide receivers, but when you have an elite player like Jamar Chase, I remember the Baltimore game, the second time they played, they were down big early, and Jamar Chase took a touchdown for 85 yards. Yeah. He broke 6 tackles. I mean, that level of wide receiver play can take a team to the Super Bowl, like you said. So Jamar Chase for sure.
All right, we've had Offensive Rookie of the Year. Mr. Werble, who's Offensive Player of the Year?
That one's a little harder, and my thinking is probably going to be opposite a little bit of Mr. Potter. I'm thinking, sure, Cooper Kupp, 1,900 plus yards, all those touchdowns. Taylor, what he did running, but Offensive Player of the Year, it's got to be a guy who touches the ball on offense every time. And for me, there's clearly Tom Brady. The numbers he put up, best QB rating in the NFL. I think he had 12 interceptions total with some ridiculous amount of touchdowns. To me, it's going to Tom Brady.
Mr. Potter?
That's a dark horse. I don't know. Maybe because he's retiring, they might give him one more on the way out of the door, but I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp. Again, just kind of the same thing with Jamar Chase, just the ability. The dude catches everything. I'm super excited to see him play in the Super Bowl. Kind of coming from a small school out of nowhere, having an elite quarterback as well. Like Matt Stafford throwing you the ball doesn't hurt, but I think he does a heck of a lot. After the catch, he's just unbelievable, so I'm going to go with Kupp.
Lastly, who is your pick for this year's MVP, Mr. Potter?
MVP, there's a lot of names. This is the one that I struggled with the most. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow on this one for MVP, just from, going from where they were to where they are now. I think he is absolutely the one who elevates them with what I think is a bad offensive line, like a D offensive line. I think he's without a doubt. And if you want to go with most valuable single player, I think it's got to be Joe Burrow.
Mr. Werble.
Well, I find it interesting that Joe Burrow's not even his Offensive Player of the Year.
I gave him MVP.
But he picks him as MVP.
I gave him MVP.
So to me, once again, it's Tom Brady. He had the best numbers. He touched the ball more than anybody. And you talk about Joe Burrow, and what would Cincinnati be without him? Totally agree. Where would Tampa Bay be without Tom Brady, though, when you really think about it?
They might still have Jameis Winston and be in trouble.
Well, yeah. So who's the most valuable? I know it always seems to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's rare that a receiver, someone's got to throw it to him, or there's that running back every once in a while, like a little Danian Tomlinson in some of his years. But to me, it seems like it's the same award: MVP and Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
It's Brady.
All right, now that we have finished the NFL Honors Awards, it's time to discuss some of our own made-up awards. Mr. Werble, who deserves Worst Coach of the Year?
Oh, worst coach of the year. This is a runaway. The man has embarrassed himself. The man didn't make it through the season.
Yeah.
The man is Urban Meyer. Oh, my goodness. From his questionable hires for strength and conditioning coach to questionable dancing and shimmying at the restaurant and not going back home with his own team on the plane after a loss. Disgusting.
Mr. Potter.
Yeah, I have to agree. If it's not Urban, that was just a catastrophe. You're right. Almost one of the first days he was hiring the strength and conditioning coach with some severe red flags on his resume. If not Urban, I'd have to say Mike McCarthy. Just down the street, I don't know what Mike McCarthy does besides lose playoff. I don't know. I just can't get over watching the last play of that game where Dak scrambled. I mean, maybe that was the offensive coordinator, but I don't know. I just don't see Mike McCarthy as effective. I don't know. So if not Urban, probably Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
This isn't really a fake award, but what's your pick for Coach of the Year, Mr. Werble?
Oh, Coach of the Year? It's got to go to Cincinnati's coach. I mean,
Zach Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, what they've done, where they were last year, the draft. Many people question the draft at Cincinnati, and so you got to give him a line. And they went, kind of against conventional wisdom. And look at them; they're in the Super Bowl.
Mr. Potter.
Here's a little bit more controversy. If I agree with that, going again from just the transition, like. It's the whole Stefanski playbook of taking a really, really bad team and Taylor's taking them to the Super Bowl maybe to win it. But I think Brian Flores, I mean, the Dolphins started off 1-7 and they finished with a winning record. I mean, that's just, to me, that's unbelievable coaching. And obviously there's a lot of speculation about how the situation was with the front office down there. But again, just from the beginning of the year to the end of the year to get those guys to perform that way was super impressive to me.
It's an interesting choice, yeah.
Mr. Potter, what team gets the biggest improvement award from last season?
I'm going to go with the Dolphins, like I said. I just think, and especially, if you believe these reports that come out where, the owner wanted to lose, the GM wanted to lose, all of those things, I find it super impressive. I mean, 1-7 is tank territory. It's awful, awful. But to come back that way, no team's ever done it before. 7 wins in a row after losing 7 in a row, just crazy. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
Mr. Werble, what team failed to meet your expectations?
My hometown team. And I think that's why you asked that question. Wearing that disgusting shirt that steel curtain.
That's great.
Yeah, I had the Browns as a gimme for the playoffs and high expectations of a AFC championship game.
Mr. Potter?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's my first pick, too. Just remembering all the talk surrounding the Browns at the beginning of the season, shoe-in for the playoffs, all of those things. Unfortunately, you don't win games on paper. Other than that, I'm going to go back to the Cowboys with how much talent they have and the middle linebacker Parsons, just the improved defense. I mean, just such a disappointing end to the season for them. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but just to see them try with all that talent, all the money that they spend at their skill positions, just super disappointing.
I think it's disappointing as the way the season ended, but I think it's hard when you look at the expectations of what that team had at the beginning of the season. I think they probably were right about on par.
Yeah.
Mr. Potter, who do you think should be this year's comeback player of the year?
It's got to be Jobo. I'm on the Jobo train right now.
2 awards, wow.
Yeah, he's. I don't see how you can give it to anybody else. So we'll see. Next year is going to be Baker Mayfield. I already got that written down. But this year it has to go to Jobo.
Mr. Werble?
There's really not any argument.
Yeah. For our last segment, we will be discussing the Super Bowl. The Cincinnati Bengals will be going against the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles. Mr. Werble, who is winning the Super Bowl?
The team that I have winning the Super Bowl is not the team that I think matches up player per player. Player per player, looking at it, I think, the Rams have a little edge. But I go back and I think LSU 2019 and how Burrow came in there. And then you look at, Matt Stafford's never been there. He's never been in a national championship game. and this is his last go around. So who's got more on their shoulders? And I think it's Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
So I think Cincinnati's going to win.
Wow.
Mr. Potter, I know you're a big fan of Sean McVay and
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford.
You might have convinced me. I have the Rams winning, but you know who's not going to go in there and play tight is Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Like, these dudes have, at the highest level, talk about nothing to lose. They were plus 8,000 to make the AFC or win the AFC at the beginning of the year. They have all the pressure is on Stafford and McVay, who's been there before. All these guys, all these huge names, big names.
And at home.
At home, man. I
Which
mean,
could
you're right.
that could be a positive or it could be a negative.
I could just see the Rams playing real tight.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning, first half, play calling is tight. You don't want to throw an interception that loses you the game. All those things, I think, to me, go against the Rams.
Yeah.
I'll still go with the Rams, but a tight one.
But like I said, I think when you look at position for position, you look at what Aaron Donald can do. You
Big names.
So Cincinnati's got great receiver. Well, the Cooper Kupp, good quarterback. You know, Matt Stafford, Odell. It's like, wow. You know, the Rams are really good.
Building, please come to the main office. Jacob Miller.
Well, I know Jalen Ramsey could probably handle Jamar Chase. I mean, we'll definitely find out coming this Sunday. But, I mean,
We'll see.
Yeah, he's had a few breakdowns.
yeah. But, hey, this is our last NFL episode of the 2021-2022 NFL season. That being said, we'll give out this first annual Best Predictor Award. This award is presented to Mr. Warble. Mr. Warble went 5-1 in this year's first-round playoff bracket compared to Mr. Potter's dismal 3-3.
Dismal.
All right, that's all we have for today for our NFL season finale. Thanks to Mr. Potter and Mr. Warble for coming on today. Thanks for watching. This has been Hang Time.